A very good morning, students. How are you? I hope you are doing good and doing your studies well. Today we are going to study class 10th first flight chapter 6 the hundred dresses part 2. This is the sixth chapter we'll study here. Students, let us see the brief introduction of this chapter first of all. In continuation of the previous lesson, the Hundred Dresses Part 2 reveals why Venda Petronsky had not been coming to school. The Petronsky family decided to move to a big city where no one would care about their unfamiliar name. On hearing the note, Maddie and Peggy got anxious as they realized that they would never get a chance for making amends for all the teasing they had done. Both the girls get relieved only on learning that Venda liked them and had dedicated one of the hundred dresses to each one of them. Let us see the explanation of the chapter. While the class circling the room, the monitor from the principal's office brought Miss Mason a note. Miss Mason read it several times and studied it thoughtfully for a while. Then she clapped her hands. Attention class, everyone back to their seat. When the shuffling of feet had stopped and the room was still and quiet, Miss Mason said, I have a letter from Venda's father that I want to read to you. Miss Mason stood there a moment and the silence in the room grew tense and expectant. The teacher adjusted her glasses slowly and deliberately. Her manner indicated that what was coming. This letter from Venda's father was a matter of great importance. Everybody listened closely as Miss Mason read the brief note. Listened closely means listened with attention. Everyone was having a look at the amazing drawing Venda had drawn and admiring it. When the monitor of the class brought a piece of note for Miss Mason, Miss Mason read that note multiple times as she could not believe what was written in it. Finally, she decided to gather the class to read it loud and clear. It was a letter from Venda Petronsky's dad. She silenced for a while, which created tension in the minds of her students. She adjusted her spectacles, which made it clear how important that note is. She began reading it. Everyone listened carefully. Dear teacher, my Venda will not come to your school anymore. Jack also. Now we move away to big city. No more holler Pollock. No more ask why funny name. Plenty of funny names in the big city. Yours truly, Jen Petronsky. The letter began with a salutation to Miss Mason. Venda's father conveyed his intention of not sending both of his children, Venda and Jack, to school anymore. He mentioned that they were shifting to another big city, a big one where no one would care enough about their strange name. A big city with a lot of people having weird names. Venda's classmates thought her name was weird and funny. You know that Venda was a Polish immigrant to America and thus had an unfamiliar name. A deep silence met the reading of this letter. Miss Mason took off her glasses, blew on them, and wiped them on her soft white handkerchief. Then she put them on again and looked at the class. When she spoke, her voice was very low. I'm sure that none of the boys and girls in the room 13 would purposely and deliberately hurt anyone's feelings because his or her name happened to be a long, unfamiliar one. I prefer to think that what was said in thoughtlessness. I know that all of you feel the way I do, that this is a very unfortunate thing to have happened. Unfortunate and sad, both, and I want you all to think about it. After hearing what was there in that letter, Everyone was left speechless. Miss Mason, too, was stunned, and thus she cleaned her glasses, wore them again, and spoke to the class in a low voice. She conveyed her disappointment to the class and asked them to assure her that nothing was done purposely to hurt Venda. She gave the children benefit of doubt that everything they did was done unintentionally. She said whatever happened was sad and unfortunate. She advised the student to introspect about it too. The first period was study period. Maddie tried to prepare her lessons, but she could not put her mind on her work. She had a very sick feeling in the bottom of her stomach. True, she had not enjoyed listening to Peggy ask Penda how many dresses she had in her closet. But she had said nothing. She had stood by silently. And that was just as bad as what Peggy had done. Worse, she was a coward. At least Peggy hadn't considered they were being mean. But Maddie, had thought they were doing wrong. She could put herself in Venda's shoes. Everyone began thinking about what was written in that letter and how each one of them made Venda feel in their first period. Maddie couldn't concentrate on her studies as she felt sick for not stopping Peggy at the right time. Had she stopped Peggy from playing that game with Venda, things could have been different, although Maddie never teased Venda. But nor did she stop Peggy from doing it, which makes her just as bad or maybe worse. Peggy's intentions were never to hurt Venda, and she was not aware that her game hurt her feeling. Maddie, on the other hand, was aware of its impact, yet she stood silent, which made her a coward for not standing against what is wrong. Goodness, wasn't there anything she could do? If only she could tell Venda she hadn't meant to hurt her feelings. She turned around and stole a glance at Peggy. But Peggy did not look up. She seemed to be studying hard. Well, whether Peggy felt badly or not, Maddie, had to do something. She had to find Veda Petrovsky. Maybe she had not yet moved away. Maybe Peggy would climb the heights with her and they would tell Venda she had won the contest. That they thought she was smart and the 100 dresses were beautiful. Filled with guilt and regret, Maddie wished for a chance to apologize to Venda, hoping Peggy would be thinking about Venda too. She takes a look at Peg, but she was busy studying. Regardless of what Peggy was thinking, Maddie decided to take some action. She hoped Venda hadn't yet moved away and she could tell her how sorry she was and appreciate her 100 dresses. When school was dismissed in the afternoon, Peggy said, with pretended casualness, "Hey, let us go and see if that kid has left town or not." So Peggy had had the same idea. Maddie glowed. Peg was really all right. The two girls hurried out of the building up the street toward Boggins Heights, the part of the town that wore such a forbidding air on this kind of a November afternoon, drizzly, damp and dismal. Damp and dismal means wet and sad, expressing a state of hopelessness. Forbidding means unfriendly or threatening in nature. That day, after the school had ended, Peggy asked Maddie if they could go and check if Venda has moved or not. Maddie was satisfied at the thought that they both had same plans of apologizing to Venda. Both of them hurried to Boggin Heights, the place where Venda lived, in order to find her. During this season, the place was generally wet and the atmosphere was sad and hopeless. "Well, at least," said Peggy gruffly, I never did call her a foreigner or make fun of her name. I never thought she had the sense to know we were making fun of her anyway. I thought she was too dumb. And Gee, look how she can draw. Mary could say nothing. All she hoped was that they would find Venda. She wanted to tell her dad they were sorry they had picked on her and how wonderful the whole school thought she was and pleased not to move away and everybody would be nice. She and Peggy would fight anybody who was not nice. The two girls hurried on. They hoped to get to the top of the hill before dark. Explanation. Peggy tries to comfort herself by murmuring that at least she didn't call her a foreigner because she was an immigrant. Neither did she make her feel different for having an unfamiliar name. She was always in this delusion that Vanda had no idea that those girls were making fun of her. Above all, Vanda is such a great artist too. Maddie, on the other hand, couldn't say a word. What she hoped for is a chance to confess, make amends, appreciate her, and try to stop her from moving away. In fact, she even thought of conveying her idea to protect Venda if anyone tried to trouble her in any way. In order to reach the place before night, they hurried. I think that is where the Petronskis live, said Maddie, pointing to a little white house. Wisp of old grass stuck up here and there along the pathway like thin kittens. The house and its sparse little yard looked shabby but clean. It reminded Maddie of Venda's one dress, her faded blue cotton dress, shabby but clean. There was not a sign of life about the house. Peggy knocked firmly on the door, but there was no answer. She and Maddie went around to the backyard and knocked there. Still, there was no answer. Explanation. They saw a white little house up there, which they thought was the place where Venda Petronsky lived. The house and its surroundings were shabby but clean, just like Venda's worn out blue dress. Thin bunches of grass grew along the path that led to the house. They resembled thin kittens. No one could be seen around the house. They knocked both at the front and backyard doors, but to their disappointment, there was no answer. There was no doubt about it. The Petronskis were gone. How could they ever make amends? They turned slowly and made their way back down to the hill. Well, anyway, said Peggy, she is gone now. So, what can we do? Besides, when I was asking her about all her dresses, she probably was getting good ideas for her drawings. She might not even have won the contest otherwise. Make amends means to show that one is sorry by doing something else. Now the Petronskis had gone, and along with them, Maddie and Peggy's last chance to make amends too. Means वो अपने आप को सुधारना चाहते थे, but now they can't do that because Maddie and Peggy couldn't meet Venda. So अब वो अपने आप को सुधार नहीं सकते थे. In order to comfort herself, Peggy started saying that Venda must have looked for drawing inspiration only after she started her dresses game. And hadn't she done that, Venda would have never won the drawing competition. Mary turned his idea carefully over in her head. For if there were anything in it, she would not have to feel so badly. But that night she could not get to sleep. She thought about Venda and her faded blue dress and the little house she had lived in, and she thought of the glowing picture those hundred dresses made, all lined up in the classroom. At last, Maddie sat up in bed and pressed her forehead tight in her hands and really thought this was the hardest thinking she had ever done. After a long time, she reached an important conclusion. She was never going to stand by and say nothing again. Let us see the explanation. Maddie also tried to convince her after what Peggy said, and that if this is the case, she doesn't have to feel so bad. But later that night, she could not sleep as she was thinking continuously about Venda's little house, her faded blue dress, both shabby but clean, and her glorious hundred dresses that were all lined up in the classroom instead of closet. Finally, she sat in her bed and started thinking deeply, the hardest she had ever done. She pressed her forehead tight in her hands, which indicated that she was really trying to focus. After thinking so much and so deeply, she came to a conclusion that she will always stand against the wrong and will never say anything when she has to. If she ever heard anybody picking on someone because they were funny looking or because they had strange names, she would speak up, even if it meant losing Peggy's friendship. She had no way of making things right with Venda, but from now on, she would never make anybody else that unhappy again. Picking on someone means criticizing someone. She decided that criticize means ninda karna, burai karna. She decided that she would never let anyone make fun of others because of their appearance, name, and clothes or where they come from. She would not shy to speak up against Peggy, even if it meant losing her friendship. She could not go in the past to make amends with Venda, no matter how much she wanted to. But from now on, she is never going to let another person feel embarrassed or unhappy again. On Saturday, Maddie spent the afternoon with Peggy. They were writing a letter to Venda Petronsky. It was just a friendly letter telling about the contest and telling Venda she had won. They told her how pretty her drawings were, and they asked her if she liked where she was living and if she liked her new teacher. They had meant to say they were sorry, but it ended up with their just writing a friendly letter, the kind they would have written to any good friend, and they signed it with lots of X's for love. They mailed the letter to Boggins Heights, writing please forward to the envelope. On Saturday, both of them sat together and decided to write a letter to Venda telling her about the contest, asking her where she is living now and how that place is. No matter how much they wanted to apologize, they couldn't summon the courage to do so and thus ended up writing a friendly letter as if Venda was their good friend. They mailed it to Boggins Heights with please forward written on it because they didn't know her new address. Days passed and there was no answer. But the letter did not come back, so maybe Venda had received it. Perhaps she was so hurt and angry she was not going to answer. You could not blame her. Weeks went by and still Venda did not answer. Peggy had begun to forget the whole business, and Maddie put herself to sleep at night making speeches about Venda, defending her from great crowds of girls who were trying to tease her with how many dresses have you got, and where before Venda could press her lips together in a tight line the way she did before answering, Maddie would cry out stop. Then everybody would feel ashamed and way she used to feel. Let's see the explanation. There was no reply from Venda, but they did not also receive the letter back. Thus, they concluded that it must have reached Venda, but she was so upset that she did not answer. They waited for weeks, but still no answer. Peggy began to forget about this whole thing while Maddie used to make scenarios in her head before sleeping, where she defended Venda. She thought of scenarios where a large group of girls surrounded Venda and would ask her how many dresses have you got? And as soon as anyone could say more, Venda would interrupt and say stop so that all of them could end up ashamed. Now it was Christmas time and there was snow on the ground. Christmas bells and a small tree decorated the classroom. On the last day of school before the holidays, the teacher showed the class a letter she had received that morning. You remember Venda Petronsky, the gifted little artist who won the drawing contest. Well, she has written me, and I'm glad to know where she lives. Because now I can send her medal. I want to read her letter to you. Explanation, let us see. It was winter season and there was snow everywhere on the ground. Christmas had come. They decorated their classroom with bells and a small tree. That day, Miss Mason told the students that she had received a letter from Venda Petronsky. She is very happy to receive it because now she can send her the medals too. Dear Miss Mason, how are you and room 13? Please tell the girls they can keep those 100 dresses because in my new house I have 100 new one. Are lined up in my closet. I would like that girl Peggy to have the drawing of the green dress with the red trimming and her friend Maddie to have the blue one. For Christmas, I miss that school and my new teacher does not equalize with you. Merry Christmas to you and everybody. Yours truly, Venda Petronsky. Let us see the explanation. The letter began in a very friendly tone. Venda asked how everyone was and that they could keep her 100 dresses because in her new house she has another lots of 100 dresses lined up in her closet. She specifically mentioned the dress she wanted Maddie and Peggy to take home. The green dress with red trimmings was for Peggy while the blue one was for Maddie. She expressed her affections towards Miss Mason and wrote her new teacher could never replace Miss Mason. She winded up the letter by wishing everyone Merry Christmas and also wrote that she missed everyone in room number 13. On the way home from school, Maddie and Peggy held their drawings very carefully. All the houses were wreaths and holly in the windows. Outside the grocery store, hundreds of Christmas trees were stacked, and in the window, candy, peppermint sticks, and cornucopias of shiny transparent paper were strung. The air smelled like Christmas and light shining everywhere reflected different colors on the snow. Boy, said Peggy, this shows she really likes it. It shows she got our letter and this is her way of saying that everything is alright. And that is that. I hope so, said Maddie sadly. She felt sad because she knew she would never see the little tight-lipped Polish girl again and could not ever really make things right between them. Cornucopias means decorative containers usually containing flowers and fruits. Holly means a shrub having prickly dark green leaves, small white flowers and red berries. It is used in Christmas decorations. It was Christmas season and all the houses were decorated. Grocery stores were stocked with Christmas trees, candy, peppermint sticks, and other Christmas stuff. The atmosphere was colorful and joyful. Maddie and Peggy took home the drawings very carefully when Peggy realized that this gesture implied that Wenda liked them. They also assumed that she got their letter and everything was peaceful between them. Maddie, on the other hand, was quite sad because she would never be able to see that polished, tight-lipped little girl again. She had never get a chance to make amends. She went home and she pinned her drawing over a torn place in the pink flowered wallpaper in the bedroom. The shabby room came alive from the brilliancy of the colors. Maddie sat down on her bed and looked at the drawing. She had stood by and said nothing, but Venda had been nice to her anyway. As soon as Maddie reached home, she displayed her drawing on that part of the wall from where her pink flowered wallpaper was slightly torn. Maddie's room was shabby too, but the drawing made it lively. She stared at the drawing continuously and thought how nice Venda had been to them. Tears blurred her eyes and she gazed for a long time at the picture. Then hastily she rubbed her eyes and studied it intently. The colors in the dress were so vivid that she had scarcely noticed the face and head of the drawing. But it looked like her, Maddie. It really looked like her own mouth. Why, it really looked like her own self. Wenda had really drawn this for her. Excitedly, she ran over to Peggy's. Let us see the explanation. While staring at the drawing Venda had given her, Maddie's vision got blurred from tears. She rubbed her eyes and noticed that Venda has actually drawn Maddie's face along with the dress. The colors of the dress were so bright and vibrant, and the face was hardly visible. Maddie got excited and ran towards Peggy's to check if she had noticed it too. Peg, she said, let me see your picture. What is the matter? Asked Peggy as they clattered up to her room where Venda's drawing was lying face down on the bed. Maddie carefully raised it. Look, she drew you. That is you, she exclaimed, and the head and the face of this picture did look like Peggy. Let us see the explanation. As soon as she reached Peggy's house, she asked her for the picture. The drawing was lying upside down on the bed. Maddie raised it and yes, it was Peggy in that drawing. Both were left in shock and awe at the same time. What did I say? Said Peggy. She must have really liked us. Anyway, yes, she must have, agreed Maddie. And she blinked away the tears that came every time she thought of Venda standing alone in that sunny spot in the schoolyard, looking stolidly over at the group of laughing girls after she had walked off, after she had said, sure, 100 of them all lined up. Let us see the explanation. Peggy exclaims that she was right about the thought that Venda liked them. Maddie, whose eyes get filled with tears every time she recalled the scene where Venda would look at the girls laughing at her, also agreed with Peggy. So, students, this is all. I hope you all have understood the chapter. Thank you for watching the video.